is Natalie Willis from the Baby Sleep Trainer going live with you today. Let's see, it's Sunday. It's around 1 o'clock West Coast time, which you know if you're right now. I don't know if I've ever gone live on YouTube. I think I used to go live all the time on Facebook, and I used to do it on Instagram as well. But we are decided to try going live on YouTube. Now, we have been talking about this live on our Instagram. So a lot of our questions that have come in have been coming in through our Instagram. So I'll get to those in just a second. Of course, if you're tuning in here right now and you have any questions, make sure that you throw them in the comments right now. But to tell you a little bit about myself while we're just waiting for people to join us, I have been working with families all around the world for the last 10 years to help them get their babies to sleep through the night and take naps. I've worked with thousands of families, over 10,000 so far, across all of my different platforms. And hi to everybody on Instagram. We're letting everyone know on Instagram that we are going live for a Q&A. If you want to have me answer any of your questions here or here, just come over to YouTube and throw them in the comment box here so I can answer them. So I've been working with families all around the world to help them get their babies to sleep through the night and take naps. I know a lot more about this subject than most other people, and so I am here to share my knowledge with you. But yes, so I actually have a question I think that came in. I'm going to ask my friend Rachel, who's here with me, to read me the question so I can kind of get that started and let you guys know, what people are looking for. What kind of information do they want to know?
So they asked, how do you know when your baby's ready to go to 2 naps? She has a 6-month-old.
Okay. So let's talk about the age when you normally go to 2 naps. You usually go to 2 naps somewhere around 7 months. Sometimes it's as early as 6 months. Sometimes it's as late as 8 months. I'm sure there's even some outliers on the 5 or 9 month range. But typically if you're going to 2 naps, that means you are starting with 3 naps. And so there's a couple of different ways of knowing that your child is ready to go to that, to go to those just 2 naps. So first of all, they may be fighting one of their 3 naps. Generally, they're going to be fighting their 3rd nap. That last one of the day, they're going to have a really hard time falling asleep for it. Maybe they're falling asleep easily for their 3 naps that they have, but they are waking up really, really early in the morning when they weren't doing that before. Or maybe they're just taking increasingly longer to fall asleep for all of their naps, right? So whereas they used to fall asleep pretty quickly for their naps, now they're taking a little bit more time and it's getting longer and longer and longer. So those are all signs combined with your child's age. So if they're around that 7 month mark and they're having these issues, you should pretty much assume that they're ready to transition to just 2 naps. Know that when you first transition to 2 naps, it's probably going to be like a little bit of a challenge for them. And just because it's hard and it's bumpy for the first week or 2, doesn't mean that they aren't ready to go to 2 naps. It just means that that's their transition taking place, And so I like to recommend when families go to 2 naps that regardless of what time the child wakes up in the morning, that their first nap starts between 9 and 10 a.m. and that their second nap starts whenever they seem ready between 1:30 and 2:30. But that's kind of the way to know when your child is ready and how to do it. So that might be the only question that we got. I don't know, Rachel, did we get any other questions in anticipation?
Nope,
this
we did not.
Okay, yeah. Well, some other questions that I usually get during these lives really have to do with my child is doing X, Y, and Z, and like how do I get them to sleep through the night? How do I get them to stop waking up? How do I get them to it's like always like having to do with this idea of like I just don't know what to do to how to get them to sleep through the night. Usually it means they need to be sleep trained. They need to learn how to fall asleep independently. And that's really like one thing that I kind of try to share with families a lot is how sleep training just really means that your child is an independent sleeper. They can go down flat on their back awake without any sleep props and be able to fall asleep on their own. Like your child being able to do that for their naps and bedtime means they're going to be able to fall back to sleep on their own when they wake up overnight. And it's pretty normal for kids to wake up frequently overnight. And so if they don't have that skill at the onset of sleep, then they're not really going to be able to put themselves back to sleep when they wake up for their nap. So that's almost like the baseline thing that I really like to talk about when it comes to like dealing with children's sleep issues is you want to make sure that they know how to fall asleep independently first. We want to make sure they know how to fall asleep independently first before you sort of tackle other things around their schedule. Another thing that comes up a lot is making sure that they have the right sleep environment, right? So making sure that they're sleeping in a totally darkened room, that their crib is completely empty. There should never be any objects in the crib besides a mattress, a sheet, and your baby. And then we also want to make sure that they have, white noise. Did I say this? Darkness, white noise, empty crib, and that you have a video monitor. And I find a lot of families like to keep their video monitors like on the edge of the crib. It's really not super safe to do that. You want to make sure that you're trying to mount that up on the wall, and you want to mount it where your child obviously can't reach it now, but they won't be able to reach it when they get older and they're standing up. And one little trick that I usually recommend to people is, I think people are like, well, how am I going to get this camera to like stay on the wall? And do I need to get a floating shelf, or how am I supposed to deal with that? You want to essentially just get you can get command strips. Like 3M makes these command hooks and this cool adhesive that doesn't ruin your walls. And you can use those strips anytime to mount your camera, and then move it and readjust it to make sure that you're able to see your baby pretty clearly. And then as far as white noise goes, you really want to use it as loud as you feel comfortable. As long as you know that you're, if you're not sure, like the right volume, you can always check with your pediatrician. So yeah, we want to make sure that you're having the correct room environment. I think there's a little question here. Hello, all things Rocco. Your toddler is 30 months who wakes a lot at night. Let's see, toddler 30 months who wakes a lot at night for the past 3 months, has always been a great sleeper. Her schedule was always 8 to 8, nap around 2 to 3:30. So, all things Rocco, can you tell me, can you tell me a little bit more about what you're doing when your child wakes up overnight in the comments? And let's see if I can answer how to deal with this question. So what are you doing? How do you respond to their wake ups? And then when they fall asleep for their naps and bedtime, are you putting them down awake and allowing them to fall asleep on their own, or are you helping them? So let's see if you can answer that question. I've got one of my kids who's asking me to pick them up. They're like, I'm walking, I need a ride home. So I'm like, ask your dad, because mom's live on YouTube. So this is not uncommon for your child to be sleeping really well and then suddenly have something pop up. And it's important to understand that like kids can stop sleeping well overnight at all ages for all sorts of reasons. Okay, so sorry for the past month, not 3 months. She's all sleep trained. She just rolls around, not crying. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're not interacting with her, but she's waking up throughout the night. And then you're wanting to know like why she's not sleeping more soundly. Okay, so her nap's only 90 minutes. She's only 2.5. And you're not interacting with her. So just to confirm, from 8 p.m. at night until 8 a.m. in the morning, you're not entering her room for the last month. She's just waking up a lot. Yes, she's very exhausted all day long. Do you mean she's exhausted all day long, like because of these wake ups that she's having, and that's why she's struggling? I figure that's sort of probably what you're getting at there. So the first thing I want to tell you to do is actually go and get a checkup for her and make sure that there's nothing that's physically going on, that she's not developed any allergies or other issues or reasons why she might be struggling to sleep through the night. Because we want to make sure that if something is waking her, we need to identify what it is. And just right off the bat with what you're saying, like if you are really saying that you don't enter her room for any reason for 12 hours overnight each night, and she's only sleeping 90 minutes a day and she's only 2.5, then the root of her wake ups needs to be identified. It might be something like, she did have an ear infection a week ago. So we want to make sure that we don't know if that was like what precipitated the wake up a month ago. But if you truly have not gone into her room overnight for, days or weeks and she's still waking up, that's something that we want to take to the pediatrician and be like, hey, she's having these wake ups overnight. So we need to identify why. And you're going to really have to advocate really hard to figure out what it is that's waking her up. It could be something like sleep apnea. It could be something going on with her adenoids. It could be an allergy that she's developed. It could be any number of different things. But I would say it's not normal for a caretaker not to enter their child's room for 12 hours overnight for weeks and weeks on end, and have the child wake up, assuming that she goes down alone and awake in her crib or in her bed for naps and bedtime, and you don't assist her to sleep. If you're interacting with her in order for her to fall asleep, so if you're having to hold her or rock her or stay with her, hold her hand or anything like that in order for her to fall asleep, that's what she's looking for when she's waking up overnight. But assuming that she's going to sleep on her own, that would be, yes, all alone. So if she's falling asleep completely independently and you haven't gone in her room for basically, days or weeks overnight, you want to head to the doctor and say, hey, something's going on and we need to figure out what it is. Usually it's something that you can address or fix, but it's not sleep training related, right? It's like something else that's going on in her body. And that's really the thing that you want to identify so that you're able to address it. But thank you so much for sending that question. I hope that you're able to find resolution around it, because that's it's like very important, right? That we identify that. So we have a couple of other people here. if anyone will stick around for maybe another couple of minutes. So hi, Tara, and see if anyone else has any questions. I play with my 4-month-old when she shows signs that she's tired and then put her down. Is that cheating? I play with my 4-month-old when she shows signs she is tired and then put her down. I don't know what you would be cheating. So I think it would come down to whether or not you feel like your child is sleeping as well as possible and, as well as she's capable of sleeping. And really, do you feel comfortable with her sleep where it is? So there's really no like cheating or anything that you should like be avoiding. This kind of falls under this whole like purview of like, oh, I don't want to make these bad habits. If your child doesn't know how to fall asleep on their own, then like they're eventually at some point going to have to learn how to be an independent sleeper. It doesn't really matter what you do in order to help them fall asleep, as long as it's safe. It's kind of all in the same category. So I would say you don't really need to worry unless you feel like in general her sleep overall isn't as great as you feel that it could be, in which case then absolutely yes, you want to like figure out how to teach her to sleep independently. There's lots of different methods and out there and different resources and stuff like that to help you. But as I was saying before, it's the active independent sleep that's so important and the thing that you want to focus on if you want your child's sleep overall to be like really healthy and as good as it can possibly be. So I hope I answered that question. Let me know if you have any other questions or if you want to elaborate on that further. And like I said, I'll stick around for a couple more minutes to see if anyone else joins us. It's really fun to do these lives. All Things Rocco, if you're still here, or Tara, will you guys let me know where you are coming to me from? I'm really curious if you are inside the U.S. or outside the U.S. I don't know if I said this before, but I'm in Portland, Oregon. So it's a rare and sunny day here, but so we feel a lot of great lighting. And also thank you guys for joining me on this live, because it's kind of weird to just go out into the world and like hope people like interact and respond with you. Okay, Tara, right. Thank you. I'm from Iceland. Oh, but live in Katy, Texas. There's a direct flight from Portland, Oregon to Reykjavik. And everyone here goes there because it's one of the very few international flights that exist out of Portland. So pretty much all my friends have gone to Iceland. I haven't yet, but I'm hope to someday. It's been COVID, so we haven't been able to go. But I feel like, I really, really can't wait to visit. And I wonder if you miss it for any reason. And All Things Rocco, I don't know if you're here anymore, but if no one else has any questions, then I think I will probably wrap this live up. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll probably try to do these a little bit more regularly, make these Q&As, and also like having some time where I can talk about different things that interest me. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time I go live.